shooting stars on my way out. Niggas want the drugs in the bar, so I got a way out. I'm paving my own way, ain't no fucking way they can take out. Plus looking at the stakes versus your state of mind, you get ate out. Pause. Do it, nigga, Adolf, then swing out. Bitch, I got a layout that really make you lay out. Purchase every pistol off deep web with my PayPal. A bit of coins can make my brothers black out, you blank out. Let me make it literal, I am not fucking lyrical. I'm the lyric in itself, it helped me to be spiritual. Maybe get that later, I throw the tape, put a fucking fade. If niggas wanna take it, it's nothing make me go fully ache. You hear the Chevy scrape, the machete raised, the Beretta wave. Nigga levitate, watch the body drop, then we celebrate. You a hella basic, the bubonic, the fucking play. That's my fucking game with the AK on the fucking chain.
Episode are characters. None of the stories told during these episodes are based on fact, truth, or reality. All works of fiction displayed during this episode that resemble real-life situations are coincidental and are not meant to serve as guides or tutorials to commit any crimes in any country. Please consult an attorney for local laws and regulations. And as always, trust your inner criminal.
Shell, unmute Meterpreter. It's muted in Discord. They're undefinite.
It was undefinite.
That was all over the air. That's great. What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Yo.
Alright, yo, I'm on now on the box.
Yeah.
So let me just do it. Oh, it looks like we have a call. Do we have the call?
Do we?
Yeah, we're having phone problems as always. Solar flares, but
It's totally okay. And yeah, thanks everybody for telling us, saying it's last week's info. We having some technical difficulties right now.
It's been a day. We've had a time. But
Time is just relative.
Yeah, time's a relative thing. It's made up, really. It's a construct, a prison of sorts.
It's a prison. So yo, what's up, everybody?
So,
Did we get the caller in?
Profound experiences.
wait, who was that?
Wait, DNZ, are you playing it?
Oh Christ!
Oh my!
Oh, I have.
That was an accident.
John? John, is that you?
Oh Christ! Oh, a very profound experience.
Wow, I can't believe he's actually here.
Yeah. No.
Oh Lord. Well, anyways, welcome.
Yeah, this has been quite the day for all of us, so please bear with us. But a lot of funny things have happened, and you might be able to notice during the show. So let's just keep it rocking, I guess. So yeah, we have TinkerSec here tonight, which is awesome. I'm very excited to talk to him. We'll be here to do the news as well as an interview in a little bit once we get done with the news. And 1 second. And no, D&D, we're not playing the whole thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's just jump right into the news so we can just have some simple. All right, cool. Okay, so license plate readers are still exposed on the internet. So I saw this. I've seen this before on Shodan. Has anybody else seen ALPR stuff on Shodan before?
I haven't.
Yeah, I saw one a while ago, and it just had an open directory with a bunch of images of license.
Yes. So yeah,
I think that was the one. I think I saw it on Twitter. Like Shell put it up.
a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, so it's interesting because like as we actually saw recently, which I didn't do our weekend introductions or our weekend story time, but this weekend spent a lot of time on the ThugCrowd TikTok. So look us up on TikTok if you like videos and music. But there's a lot of police officers that share their inside of their computers, the lip syncing, and there's like they'll show their desktop with all of their software and files and stuff. But the interesting thing though is like that also gets shared on Shodan and things like that because they're networking all those different police laptops together, and so they all have to be aggregating data someplace. And a lot of the times, well, not a lot of the times, but some of the times, that information is public, and it should not be ALPR stuff where you just can look up people's records and see. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to do that.
I agree.
Privacy, interesting.
No, I think the fact that TikTok, like, who could have seen that coming? I guess anybody really, with some foresight into this fucking circus reality that we're living in right now. But like, just this obscure app comes along that makes people's inhibitions somehow go down, and they're willing to post pretty sensitive stuff. I mean, who knows what kind of stuff's happening to military, right? Like, hey, post your favorite picture of a map that's close by, or some shit like that, you know?
No, it's definitely like we've actually seen a couple of different examples of basically they have like police I think it was Nova, I think was the name of one of them, where there's like police like software as a service where they have like basically like an entire police station's worth of like activities of like looking up information, booking people and things like that are all just aggregated into some service that local police departments can buy. But, I mean, I don't know who's exactly pen testing those kinds of things, but those are the kinds of things that people would want to actually get into to free their buddies and not come up when they steal a car.
Free Kevin.
Put Kevin back.
Well,
Put Kevin back.
Can we hack in the what was the software called again by Motorola? The prison management stuff.
Oh, that was Spillman Nova. So that was the name of the
Spillman Nova was the prison management, and we thought we could just imprison Kevin again, but apparently not.
Yeah, you need another API key for that. They'll just give us that willy nilly.
Prima Boy 6ix9ine.
But yeah, no, definitely interesting though to look out for those kinds of things. Any police, any sort of law enforcement stuff that is just their infrastructure out in the open, and tell them because they're actually like making everything a lot safe for us if we are have our information out like that. The next one we have on the list here, it's actually really, really, really silly, and I don't understand how this could ever pass anywhere. But then again, I've seen even weirder stuff pass. So, lawmaker wants to tax porn users to help fund the border wall. So, Arizona is trying to release a bill that distributors of devices that allow access to the internet would have to install software to make porn not viewable. And to remove the software, a person would have to pay the state $20, and that would help fund the border wall. This is like, I don't even know. Like, what this is like, where to begin?
The imagery included in the article first, where it is a Cat 5 cable with a condom wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like
quality stuff.
Republicans don't believe in condoms anyway, so why is that there?
I love how he just assumes that porn streaming is different from all the other kind of video streaming on the internet.
Hold on 1 second. I changed my microphone real quick.
It's like that the one RFC that's like .sex considered dangerous.
RFC 6969.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny because it's true. I don't know if it is.
I don't know.
Only
There
I'm
could be,
hoping
no,
everything
it's
right
basically
now after
saying like
reading
there
that.
could be crossover between the .com root zone and like the purity
When did the
.com or whatever crossover with evil.sex.
When did it all start? I know it's been a minute, right? Like the TLDs have loosened up quite a while. It's like 10 years now, right? It is
So
hard.
when you
It's
started
expensive
being
as
able to
fuck
buy
to
like,
buy .xxx domain though.
but like .ninja and like started like there was a lot of like vanity TLDs that came out for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I remember even Interpol got their own. It was .int, and it wasn't listed anywhere on like.
I don't
ICANN.
think no INT is international, is it not? Because you have stuff like what do you call it? WHO.int, WHO.int for the World Health Organization. It's like
Maybe-
international.
Yeah, that's probably it. The only reason I knew about it is because of Interpol, but that was long, long ago. Like we're talking
And
literally 10 years ago.
I mean, Google owns .new. Like one of the coolest features I think is like you can type docs.new and it opens a new Google Doc, or like slides.new.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Huh.
I thought it was like a feature like Chromebooks only were redirecting .new domains or whatever, but apparently it's just a thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's weird though. Huh. .new?
Yeah.
Oh,
So DOCS dot
so everybody,
NEW.
So has anyone actually read the proposed bill at all?
Wait, hold on. Everybody needs to open a new browser window. Like, don't close this one, and then try .new. What did you
I
do?
just opened docs.new in Tor browser, and it totally.
So, serious question: has anyone actually read that proposed bill that frickin' Gilda is trying to propose right now? Not Gilda on the chat, but Gail Gilda, the Republican person who actually decided that this was a good idea.
Okay, so first and foremost, my favorite aspect of this is that it looks like it's just copy and pasted out of Vim. Like they copied the entire window because of the line numbers and the monospace. But yeah, there's a lot of different little directives of what is actually blocked. But do you have any specific thing that you want to discuss about it? Not Pike?
Ah, nice. The Discord voice glitch.
Yeah, Discord voice is being real bad
Man,
today.
today's an awesome day.
Oh. Hey, buddy.
It's all right.
So what were you saying, dude?
Me or you?
You. What's up?
Yeah, what's up, you?
Oh, wait.
That joke never gets old. Yeah, we're spread about our freaking names. It's like, oh, you're not Pike. Oh, you're you.
Move this to AFK.
No, it automatically does it
live
after
itself.
like 10 minutes.
Wow. Sorry, everybody. We are just having a great day today. Sorry for everybody who just had dead air here. You
gotta go into the server chat and turn off
thanks
AFK.
Thanks for noticing that though, because that was the thing that I forgot and configured.
Yeah, I just disabled it now. So let's go back to what we were doing. And
the TLDR is in your browser, open a new window and type docs.new or what's the other ones?
Slides.new.
Yeah.
Or like sheets.new.
Slides and sheets.new.
And you get magical windows in your browser. That is.
You can also go to nic.meme and that redirects you to the registry.google.
That meme?
Because
Really?
for some reason Google owns the .meme GTLD.
What the fuck? Okay. All right.
I think they also own the .dev TLD.
Yeah, that's
and
the worst
a bunch
part.
Of people got Yeah, a bunch of people got annoyed because everyone uses .dev for their internal development networks, and now it's an actual TL.
That's great. Oh, I love it. They need to.
I mean, that's like the one dot x being assigned. Like
Somebody-
1.1.1.
Somebody does need to get .local. Once that's done, and they redirect it to like their just fucking ad spammer universe, everything will be right in the universe. That's how I feel about it, at least.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, realistically, if you owned a
let's
big
play
enough
Windows.
DNS server, you could redirect, anyone that's trying to resolve .dev or .local to your own server and harvest creds for days.
I think the way we got on this though was the that crazy bill in Arizona to tax porn, which sounds like a very Arizona thing to do. Like I just
we're gonna make the SB 1070 of porn.
All right, now that has a special place in my heart just because I lived in Arizona for a while. But yeah, it is.
Would using a
UK actually do
VPN be
something
tax
similar
evading?
with their internet service providers, saying like, we're just going to block all this until you actually write us a letter saying I want to see it?
There's no compliance gonna happen. Is never ever gonna happen. And whoever voted for this fucking lunatic is absolutely regretting their vote right now.
Are you sure?
Arizonans
when he
love
came up
their
with the
corn and they love their wheat. Okay, and they
Wait,
love the cheap labor as well.
What does the Pornhub demographics page say about Arizona?
I was saying, like, do you think he was looking at porn when he came up with the idea? He was like just
There's a
joking it,
woman.
and he's like, "You should
There's
put
a
it." Oh, well,
woman,
maybe
but
she.
yeah,
Sorry,
she
she.
definitely
My
was.
bad.
She definitely was. And
Okay, before we say fucking more about lawmakers doing whatever the hell they're doing, we should move on to the next topic here, which actually DNZ you had brought up too, which is the Wi-Fi firmware bug.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting because of the scale of what's affected. I guess this chipset specifically being used in apparently PlayStation 4s, Xboxes, Surfaces, like a bunch of stuff that is totally out of your Wi-Fi control. So what a lot of people don't realize is that there is software that runs on your peripherals that you don't really have control over. And in this case, ThreadX being the firmware that ran on these Marvel chipsets was exploited over Wi-Fi. So the attacker shows in his POC, he's able to send he readies a beacon, and then when he scans for available SSIDs, you can see in the kernel log there's this device has been pwned. So we can't tell exactly what he's doing, but we know that he's getting execution through the firmware, and then it is able to print out to the kernel messages. So he's it's owned without user interaction, other than the Wi-Fi, like a scan, which is happening on the devices that are affected all the time without any user configuration, which is pretty interesting. But I guess this is similar to sort of baseband attacks and other things that people have done, like fuzzing basebands in iPhones and stuff like that. So those other peripherals that nobody really thinks about when it comes to security, because everyone's so concerned with the operating. So this could be a bug as well that involves the kernel module it's specifically using. We don't know that, but it appears that it's all around the firmware that is running on it, and then any derivative of that as well would presumably be affected.
Yeah.
So you could just be walking around and your phone gets owned because someone has a dirty SSD running.
Yeah, don't be worried. Is the short of that.
The real takeaway is actually just rip out every single chip in your phone.
Yeah, actually.
GSM chip, throw it away. Bluetooth, throw it away. Wi-Fi, throw it away.
Yeah, nothing.
It could be interesting though, using offices that have consoles in their office for video game time or whatever, lunch break. like just pivot off someone's Xbox over Wi-Fi without any interaction, like PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah, but why would you do that when you can use a printer?
Well, I mean, printed might not have Wi-Fi; it might be cabled, but like, where do you turn it? Like, how many people are going through the security settings in their PlayStation and being like, "Oh yeah, better turn off like the Wi-Fi chip all the time"?
Yeah, but how many people are threat modeling their fucking printer?
Yeah,
Zero.
I mean, a lot of like embedded attacks, like newer ones for game consoles and stuff, like go through things like this. Like, pretty sure that was the 3DS jailbreak that went through a Wi-Fi chip, or it was a peripheral chip of some sort like this. There's like some bug in, and they're able to leverage that to like that was like a hardware bug too. They like, couldn't actually fix or something for a while. So yeah, interesting stuff though, when people are able to pivot off of a chip.
Yeah,
like that.
I think if we go back, if we have a look at what came out at Triple C with the wallet fail stuff as well, where there's like specific chip bugs that were like that they were looking at in the wallets. Some of those bugs won't be fixed either. So if you had something that was a combination of this plus that, that could be truly scary.
Yeah. So the next one that is very scary is hackers taking control of giant construction crane. This is the fact that
Watch
there
Dogs
is
IRL, obviously.
Wait, what?
It's Watch Dogs IRL.
Yeah. This is like so.
Watch Doggies.
The fact that people are, or the fact that there are cranes that are any way controllable by random people is horrifying, because cranes are just huge and they can just destroy things just as much as they can build things. And yeah, that is
They can
anybody
pick
have
stuff
any
up, right?
information?
They can pick some heavy stuff up, as far as I recall.
I mean, yeah, it's a fucking crane.
The way,
like,
the way
alright.
this was done though was,
But, like,
done
you know the weight?
through radio.
You know the weights that they use on the near the hook or whatever on the crane. I don't know crane terms,
The
but
back
there's
of
like
the
a
crane
heavy
is a kind of
ball
Wait, you're not
The
up on
counterweight.
that crane window?
counterweight,
What the fuck?
on the actual like line at the bottom of the line. That's like a big heavy, like even the hook is like heavy as fuck. Like, have you ever walked under a crane and looked up and just gone like, if that thing fell on me, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm 100% dead.
Wait,
I mean, if
We're
it
not supposed to
touched
be
you
under
going
them,
like a
right?
mile an hour, you'd probably die as well. You'd probably be fucked up.
Oh
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about this is that these are like similar to so many other different things. Were controlled by radio, and they're just unencrypted or basic encoding, and people could just send commands remotely over the radio airways to cranes to control them.
Do you reckon there was like some cunt who was, using like a little RC, like for an RC plane, just driving about a wee crane? Like,
I can only hope.
I mean, you can just imagine if it was like connected via VNC, there has to be some skid on Twitter flexing about how he owns a crane.
I feel like it requires a bit more skill than just a checker program. It's more like you need to have an SDR to be able and be in somewhere in the proximity of it to actually make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you making the assumption that there's no cranes with open VNC.
I mean, yeah,
I've gone through like a lot of resolves for that. I would have found it by now.
I've definitely been around construction sites where cranes have been erected to build buildings and scanned like with an SDR at the time. And there's like a whole bunch of weird stuff that goes on, like frequencies that pop up. But one of the interesting ones, just a little side note, was the radio chatter from the people on the site who are just like, "Oh yeah, can you like open up the back gate?" And like they don't know who's on the other end. They're like, "Yeah, no worries. Like, there's a truck pulling up at the back gate. Can you let him in?" "Yep, good." The gate's open. So I don't know what's the protocol around asking the crane operators to just do shit.
Hey, can you knock down this building for me? Yeah, I know it's like 200
maybe not
meters
that
away from the
far.
place we're actually meant to be building, but can you just knock it down?
I'll give you a pint and a burger if you let me
swing
get
it
close
really
to
fast.
Hey, there's been a change of plans.
The
Drop
zone was
whatever
wrong.
you're
We just need
holding.
to take this building.
Love it.
Like you could fuck up someone's car.
Yeah.
Like it's like that guy who drove the like mini like what do you call them? Like digger. He drove like a mini digger through like a hotel lobby because he didn't get paid £600. He demolished this entire place. He's only out there finishing.
Oh yeah, I did see that today. That was pretty interesting. He just
It's like
demolished
a
it. It was like a
loser junior.
Best Western or some bullshit. Those things are good at picking up like heavy things like the washing machines or ATMs or stuff like that, you know.
Yes, weight appliances and also cash machines.
Speaking of cash machines and ATMs.
Yes. The next one here. This is pretty ridiculous, but this is just exactly what people do red teaming for, pen testing for. So yeah, this is North Korean hackers that infiltrated the Chile's ATM network after a Skype job interview. This is pretty. When you read the actual details of it, it gets kind of sadder. So basically, there's somebody doing a job interview, and they had them download and open a file called applicationpdf.exe, and yeah, it's just malware. I don't know what
Classic.
this would. It's just like that's not even trying though. That's just like a
like
application.
North Korea
PDF.
has to have some kind of PDF zero day, you know, instead of having to name their exe files
Yeah, there are
.pdf.exe.
so many things that you could do with a PDF besides just adding an exe or
It's
adding
like
exe at
some
the end of it.
hack forums grade TTP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can you
Forums
accept
or
the
TTP includes
.exe?
doc exploits? So they're more advanced than North Korea.
Wait, what?
Hack forums TTP
Hack
includes fucking like docx exploits and like macro O days and shit. Whereas North Korea is just name your PDF or name your exe.pdf.exe.
I mean, if
Yeah.
it works,
Maybe
it's not
there's
dumb.
like, yeah. Do
This
you
is the
remember
point.
there's like a description of like the progression through a program's career where they start off they're like bash hello world, and then they go like all the way through the languages until they're like masterful C++, and then they get asked to write a hello world program and they like realize that like bash echo like hello world is fine. Like maybe North Korea are just like mad woke and they're like, we didn't even do any of this shit. Like fuck you, cyber
I
war.
can't remember where it was, but like someone released a, you know, like an analysis of like a North Korean APTs like malware. North Korea and China, because they're just like excluded from our internet, have figured out entirely different ways they actually use their malware and like program their malware and like have different techniques in comparison to anywhere else in the world. And I think it's kind of interesting just to see that kind of divide, like not even just like a cultural one, like an actual technical divide.
Definitely, man. Yeah,
Was it FireEye or one of the bigger vendors?
One of the bigger ones, yeah.
It's just not one single unified internet, though. Like we kind of have this weird view of. It's definitely not that. It's segmented. It's controlled. It's controlled differently in different regions. It is not. It is not free.
Absolutely.
But it's not free unless you actively help to make it free. So run a Tor exit node. Run a few nodes.
So the next item that we have on the list here is the one that everybody has been talking about, and then everybody just sort of kind of gave up on, I think, or kind of realized that it's not as valuable as they think it was. This was the Collection 1 and anti-public breaches that Troy Hunt had disclosed. These were a giant collection of passwords that were supposedly being sold for $70 on Hack Forum and Raid Forum, I believe. And yeah, they were being sold, and they were collected, aggregated. Everyone thought it was the mother of all breaches, and then we realized that it's actually just a bunch of old data.
I don't know.
I mean, that's pretty common. Like the breach compilation on Pirate Bay or whatever, it's like kind of big, but there's shit everyone already has. It's just sort of
people get all
put
excited
together
and
for
all
you.
that, when it first comes out, and then when they find out, like, oh, it's just old stuff.
I want to say, I think this is the first time Troy's pumped a breach compilation that isn't really all that spectacular. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's done it in the past, but this one especially. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on his work because the dude, like him or hate him, he's good at collecting the stuff that he's doing and providing services. But this is the first time that I saw him actively go out and be like, "Yo, this is a really amazing thing that I got," and it's like, but it's all the same stuff. So, it's gonna happen,
yeah,
right?
It'd be interesting to see how it
there's
ends
like
up
so many
propagating.
If you look at the list of domains that were compromised in like this dump though, like the paste bin, there's just like so many shit domains that you definitely don't have an account on. Like there's hundreds of like shitty websites that no one like. It's got a lot of accounts, but I don't. Why does somebody have an account there in the first place? Is a good question.
Well, and also there being combos, right? Like the password combo was really, really low. It was only a couple million, from what I recall, that had password combos. So it was just email addresses mostly. That's like who really cares about that? Honestly, like what? I'm gonna get one extra spam in my inbox. Great, I'll add it to the 700 that I get daily.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, though, that makes it difficult, which is a lot of us, when they're looking at it, we're noticing, is that there's just the amount of data that you have to parse through is just astronomical. That's a lot of data.
Absolutely.
Of plain text, too, which there's very little consistency in delineation, especially with something like that, where it's just hodgepodge, like it's just stuff cobbled together. So when you're trying to analyze that amount of data, to even see, okay, what here is relevant, what is new, and what is in a form that I can actually use. A lot of that stuff is, when it gets cobbled together, is just garbage. Like I've seen stuff like that before where there's like random like byte sequences that are like just control characters. Like I'm like, what is this binary data doing in the middle of all this ASCII? Like stuff like that where you're just like, I don't even know how this would be usable by anybody in the first place. But then when people
one of the tweets, sorry, one of the tweets that Troy put out though had he was trying to select count star, and the resulting integer was apparently 2. But don't select count star. Never select count star. Like,
yeah. Still, it's that he's I can't knock him because he's dealing with huge amounts of data at this point. He's one of the major authorities on the internet, but there's also a flip side to that, like the WeLeakInfo.com guys. They're doing a pretty bang up job. I actually like those dudes a lot. Quick. I can't imagine how much finagling is going on in the back end to make things like that work, because that's a lot of info.
Yeah, especially with plain text where it's difficult to like just manage. Like you don't just open that up. Like it's there's no like good ways to, like, if you have like a multi-gigabyte text file, even that is tough to work with at times.
Yeah, and the other way is like the other thing as well is like during data exfiltration for SQL, like you might not get a SQL file. You're not going to get real SQL. You're just using some injection that you've scripted up to dump into a text format, which is whatever you think is a good idea at the time. And you don't really know what's going to be in the data all the time. Like the data type might not quite be what you've expected. And if you just dump like 10 gig of data, you're like, oh shit, 5 records are wrong. Or like 20% of the records are like corrupted or something. You don't really know.
Does anybody know if there was actually any like big compromise of any kind of, company in that data, or like any real big.
None of it was new.
Yeah, because when I was
Well, there
looking
was
through
probably
some
a
of it,
few
it was
combos
mainly
and
like
shit,
I just kind of gave up because I was like, okay, like this is it's like any other kind of data that gets thrown on the internet. There's just so much of it.
nobody's going to be selling any
Yeah.
kind of breach like that that's
Yeah.
private or even semi-private for $70. The guy was selling on Telegram too.
He's got he's got his Discord on there. Don't worry, like hit him up on a Discord DM.
Do you want to get him on?
They can cut you a deal if you toss them some nitro.
Free nitro. Who wants
Speaking
free
of-
nitro?
We take $70 of nitro.
Speaking of nitro, there's this story about nitro giants, web giants, blocking.
Whoa, that was an even worse transition than I do. Wow. So yeah,
right?
Google is going to be blocking ad blockers in Chrome for safety, apparently.
Gasp.
So yeah, AdBlock Plus is apparently not going to be affected by this, but Chromium Core is going to have some ad blocking features. They're going to have some ad blocking features implemented.
Wasn't AdBlock Plus already taking money for people to let their ads go through?
That's likely why. That's likely why they are not affected by this at all.
But also, you have to think about this as like Google's entire profit, model is based on ads.
Yeah.
I wonder if they found.
But now this is like the pyramid scheme where Google become like stay at the top of the food chain because people pay AdBlock money, and then AdBlock will just pay Google money, and then everybody like their app is unaffected. I don't know.
You think it's going to be successful? I think people are just going to revolt and like figure out a way around it, and they're going to revert.
It's just a deprecation and an API call, so I'm sure with a little bit of tinkering, people will be able to get around it. Especially considering like the core Chromium application has been open source for such a long time.
Yep.
It's times for an arms race. We've got ad blockers and ad blockers, and then ad blocker.
And like with Microsoft, like Microsoft's going to be adopting Chrome at some point too. So like that's really fucking scary, considering that like one company can make a decision that would essentially control the majority of the internet users.
Are we just seeing the recycling of the framebuster JavaScript, like framebuster, buster.
Buster rhymes. I can bust a rhyme.
Hold on 1 second. No, I think that like though when it comes to like ad blocking stuff, it's like it becomes essential at a certain point when there is just compromised ad networks that just serve malware out of your ads, and it's just like, what do you do? Like if you're just a website that you use that is just giving you some like malware dropper in JavaScript that just invokes PowerShell or something, like some whatever weird ass thing someone's trying with JavaScript these days. If you can't block that, if you don't have the ability to block that, like where does that leave you? Or does it leave the company liable? Like where does it leave your browser liable to disabling that kind of thing or enabling that kind of thing for you?
I think the evolution of ads though is definitely leading more towards that. So like when you used to have ad networks that were based on impressions, and then you went to clicks, and now you see things like CoinHive where what is a quote capture is actually really just a pay gateway. Like, so I think the type of ads that are getting served are changing as we evolve anyway. So if there's ads that people don't see that use CPU usage that they don't notice, is that going to be blocked by like the ad blocker if they're not, like it's not a tracking script. It might not be tracking them or serving them any particular content based on their browsing history, but it's still making money off it.
Yeah. We'll see. My prediction is they tried to take a leap and they're gonna push it, and people are just gonna freak the hell out, and they'll get enough pushback to change it. Either that or everybody's gonna move to like Mozilla, right?
Let's go back to Firefox, I guess.
Yeah, Firefox or IE.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely try
IE is good now.
Yeah, or Safari. That's even better.
Safari, huh?
Safari even been updated?
I do like
when was the
Panda.
last? When was the last release?
Yeah, I don't know.
Netscape Navigator.
Yes, Netscape Navigator. That's where we'll land.
No, we only use
Wait,
curl
that
in
is
this house.
Firefox now. That is the evolution of Netscape Navigator, right? Mozilla went like Mozilla Core became went on.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So yeah, that's it for the news. But then we also have a couple cool cheat codes this cycle here. The first one being this apt-get RCE, which I still had to read a little bit more about. But does anybody else have any information about it or want to explain what this is?
Oh man, I saw this really quickly, like during the HTTPS fucking debate about update mechanisms. It was like really poorly timed that this happened to come out at this.
With the video
isn't
land
there like a
guys, right?
website that's like, why does APT not use HTTPS.com?
Yeah, but it's not the only distro. There's plenty of distros and mechanisms that don't. If you think about like what HTTPS provides, is it really providing you identity? Like it's not providing the identity or the integrity of the package you're downloading anyway, and that's why there's mirrors everywhere. So if you did introduce HTTPS and you did use something like say Cloudflare, because and you're reusing the SSL certificates, then what's a hijacked domain? So then when does the argument change from like, oh, put HTTPS to like now put like DNSSEC and all this stuff? And at the core of the problem is actually the integrity of the package, because if it's not GPG signed, like PGP signed by the vendor, it's not going to install anyway.
Atmos, you got some.
All right.
I'm
Atmos,
figuring that right now. I saw.
Wait, Atmos, what were you gonna say?
I
can hear you now.
Okay, basically, it's not only that. Anyone can spoof the headers of Cloudflare, which is shared, and basically you're fucked. And HTTPS don't always provide, like, if you use OpenSSL, there's a lot of undisclosed issues. Same for APT. Like, when you update, I will not use it. I rather just make a token hunt or hash verification on each package. You just don't have to do /y and accept everything. There's already hash verification of packet and package that you download.
I think it comes down to being an easy vehicle to latch onto. It's a simple phrase that you can parrot and repeat, which is, oh, you should be using HTTPS. It's nice and easy and simple for everybody to remember. And that's a bandwagon kind of thingy. I don't think it inherently provides any security benefit, but
It's okay. You can call it. You call it what it is, which is the InfoSec cargo bullshit.
I think that like there is some benefit in like a more advanced sort of deployment. Like if your distro had a signed key, like a client certificate, so that you could have mutual authentication with your update server, that's good. Which is incredibly difficult to set up and manage. It's also costly. You then have to look at like, okay, so somebody could potentially know what packages you're downloading or know what mirrors you're using, know what version you're getting or something like that.
No, not anything like that.
Yeah, like you're getting Windows updates. Like you're getting Ubuntu updates, you're getting like Red Hat updates, or like you can guess that. Like you've blown the recon, dude. But yeah, there's the other thing that HTTPS is going to introduce as well, like is the whole TLS like attack surface. Like we saw like Heartbleed and we saw Drown and we saw other things for like, there's been plenty of big name bugs and there's been plenty of no name bugs, like CVEs that come out for OpenSSL and stuff that uses other SSL libraries like all the time. So
I think
you're just
I think
really
a good-
like complicating it.
Yeah, I think a good metric for this is let's try and get our shit together with using admin first. And then we'll move on to the more advanced attacks that like attack the cryptography levels of HTTPS, etc. But let's just try and get those telnet admin credentials fucking taken care of. Let's try that first.
Yeah. Definitely. There's different ways. But oh man, there's something else I had about HBS. I totally like lost my brain for a second.
I get this weird feeling, this vibe. Me too. So strange.
Yeah, there's so much. There's such a difference between like privacy and integrity and identity. Like all these different concepts that need to be addressed, and yeah, like tackle one problem at a time.
The green walk.
Trust.
You need the green walk.
Yeah.
The what? I'm missing that one.
The little green walk in your browser. It's just a joke.
Oh, that
I'm
does
not
mean
funny.
I'm secure, though. No, that means I'm secure.
Yeah.
My malware is being delivered.
If people will stop use Cloudflare, it will help a lot. But Cloudflare just man in the middle everything that is connecting to it and use so much shit, man. It's just too big.
Yeah, but Cloudflare, it also enables things like domain fronting, which is part of the reason why we haven't seen like CDN in general. Was part of the reason that it was so hard to block.
Look, I
like
removed
Telegram and whatever.
Cloudflare from my domain signs maybe 3 months, and it's still connecting to it. What the fuck? I'm having like issue with the fucking air records and everything because it takes fucking priority in every one DNS. Like they use 1.1.1, and dude, that's fucking stupid. Same for Google DNS. They synchronize with fucking Cloudflare. So basically, my domain is fucked up right now.
Are you mad about Cloudflare?
Wait. So is this a personal thing, Atmos?
Yeah, it is.
Fucking nerd.
We also have.
I fucking emailed them about that. They never fucking answer.
That's great. I'm sorry for your troubles, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. I can buy another domain. Like, I don't give a fuck. But it's just the fact that, dude, they're doing something bad. Like, they're enforcing shit on internet shit and things that people are not even aware of.
Yeah, dude. I feel you.
Hey, I think a lot of the people who follow like Let's Encrypt as well, like Let's Encrypt is very useful and quick to use, but just because you can sign a Let's Encrypt domain also means like an attacker can do that too if there is a domain.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like your browser's not going to go, "Ooh, the verification has changed with this website."
Yo, before we go too much further down this hateful rabbit hole, got one more little news thing that I wanted to touch on, which was the ES File Explorer vuln that F Society had put out. Did anybody read this? Is anybody familiar with ES File Explorer? Because this is awesome.
Dude, look at the exploit. Look at the payload. Oh my god.
It's incredible. So ES File Explorer is a very, very popular file explorer for Android. And it's shipped on a lot of phones, so especially like cheaper phones will have this shipped as the stock file manager. And so it has 500 million users worldwide. I have a ton of phones that have it, so I've actually been meaning to play with this. But so apparently, when the user launches this app, there's an HTTP server started, and it's listening on port 59777. And all you have to do to control the phone is just do a simple curl request. So if you see this exploit, which I'll post the Git repo in here, but you can do everything from list files, list pictures, videos, audio, apps, apps on the SD card, get device info, pull an app from the device, launch the app, and a bunch of other things. So this is.
I mean, you're forgetting the big one, which is commands.
What?
You're forgetting the big one, which is execute commands on the device.
Yeah. There's there's literally like you can also just download your files from this as well.
Has anyone confirmed this? Because I tried this on a couple phones and I wasn't able to pull in.
Did you have ES File Explorer on it?
Yeah, in older versions.
In older versions? I haven't actually confirmed it yet, but this is the.
Yeah, me neither.
I would assume that this is.
I mean, if they give it a CVE, then it's probably legit.
Sure, it's just always interesting to see like a scope.
Yeah. No, definitely. I have a couple phones. Maybe I could do a stream sometime this week, and test it out because I have a few phones that have this. That also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun to play with.
Yeah, great. I'm not saying like I doubt its existence. It's just I tried it on like 3 different phones. 3 old Android phones, and I wasn't able to get anything.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I think it's interesting that you bring that point up because a lot of people retweet stuff, including this, which I admittedly retweeted without verifying myself. And yeah, who actually has had success with it? Come hit us up in Twitch chat or whatever, because I don't think anybody has.
Yeah, definitely. Please do. I mean, it's always fun to, go on a buzzword and push it out. And I'm sure it's actually, applicable somewhere, but it's always good to validate. And I'd love to see if anyone has like a video or some screenshots of them trying.
Question: what version of Android is the device running? Because like there's a couple of issues on the GitHub page that say 4.4.4. Android doesn't work with it.
Oh, neat. Yeah, I have 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and a lot of people like have different setting and stuff, edit config of stuff when to root. So I would like to see a proof of concept to see which kind of device it's affect and yeah.
I think one of the big reasons that it was generally accepted as true is what Plasma's kind of pointing out on Twitch is that the company confirmed it. Like they confirmed that they saw this bullshit going on. So
yeah, and that raises a kind of another thing. They saw in the patch notes they fixed some like HTTP issue, but I saw there's discussion on a post of this tool. They're talking about the possibility of it being like a bug door.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's really convenient, right?
It's really obvious for a bug door though, like.
But it's still obvious, right?
But like good bug doors are like the E flag on a PHP regex or something, right? This is like
and a smiley face.
Regex, like,
no,
or like removing removing that single semicolon or something like that. They're the leech.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I don't think anyone else here knows definitively, but I'd believe it if someone went out and said, like, I have.
Yeah, we can test it out. We can definitely do some screen sharing or maybe another stream.
Let's do it.
And test out some phones.
I'll reach out and see what I can get access to.
I got a cell phone. I can try it. Like, if someone want to try it, I don't have the exploit, but you can try it literally on my phone.
Look in the show notes channel in Discord. It's in there.
It's just a Git repo.
Yeah, it's just a Git repo. It's actually just a curl request. You don't really need much else. But yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Wait, you don't need a huge Python thing to wrap around?
No, I think you actually need a full Node.js server, and it has to be running.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's where I went wrong. I'm sure that's why I didn't.
Yeah,
and you gotta have burp, and you gotta do it through a browser.
Watch my GitHub for full Showdown integration.
We need census.
$29.95 per month.
Hell yeah. So hey, it's about time to talk to our guest. What do you guys think? Tinker?
It's about time for me to go to bed. So good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
And hey, Tinker, are you there?
I am here. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great. How are you?
I've been listening to your news talk and all the vulns and exploits you've been putting out, and sipping my rye right now, so I'm in quite a good mood.
Awesome. So hey, welcome to the show. A lot
Cheers.
of people are really excited to have you on here and talking to you. When you showed up in our Discord, we were all excited. We were like, oh, and then you're just so kind, so we're just taking it back.
Y'all invited me. You're a wonderful folk, and I felt very so. Can't do not, but be kind.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks, Tinker.
Thanks for coming on.
Cheers.
Yeah. So I guess, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I'm a run-of-the-mill pen tester. I hack a bit and grift a bit and burglar a bit. I've built out a couple teams. I'm a technical architect at a large company right now, building out their team, doing a lot of purple teaming, honestly, and helping build out their security operations center, their intrusion detection by throwing out known malicious activity and kind of helping them tune the rules. Prior to pen testing, I did a bit of intrusion detection, served in the SOC trenches. Prior to that, I was in United States Marine Corps for a bit.
Thank you for your service.
Oh yeah, cheers. Thank you for yours.
Actually,
I didn't.
What'd you do?
I was motor T. If you can't truck it, fuck it. So did a lot of direct support convoy operations, and we hauled beans, bullets, and band-aids, and we escorted mercenaries, private military contractors, and a lot of third country nationals. So good times.
No, I'm familiar with that. We'll talk later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A bit of gun running. Awesome. I've been asked. I'm trying to follow the Twitch chat too. Someone said something along the lines of, "They'd like me to say this is Snake." So there you go, Dangler.
That's great, man.
Snake. Yeah.
God damn it. So hell yeah. So I guess we can start off a little bit, I guess, on your background. So what made you get into computers? What got you into InfoSec, hacking, all that?
Well, so I'm going to date myself here, but back in high school, I did a bit of script kiddie bullshit, and this was like Windows 95, Windows 98 days, and I think one of the earliest things that I did, I was playing around on the Windows, and I think I can tell the story without. This is all fake, right? We're all actors, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a big story.
Yeah. So this didn't really happen, but I'm going to tell it to you anyways. Making it up on the spot, mind you. But there was an open network share in the high school computers, and it pointed towards a counselor computer, a registrar, and double clicked on it, right? And it brought up the C drive, and it was read write. So I pulled down some janky ass keylogger written in Visual Basic. I couldn't do it myself. You double click this thing, right, and actually log keystrokes, but it brought up a window that said minimize this window. And so I can't remember where I got it. This was like Cult of the Dead Cow type of stuff, back orifice bullshit. But I dragged it onto the computer and went into win.ini and had it run at startup, and ended up logging the keystrokes of the counselor computer and used that. I'd gotten the idea because when I went in to ask a question about classes or whatever, my grades, there was a telnet program flashing on the counselor's computer, and it had the IP address. And so I logged keystrokes and pointed towards some old ass mainframe that the school district ran, and so I connected to it with Telnet and used the password that I got from the store computer, and ended up getting full access to student records and grades and all that shit. So ended up going to school originally for computer science, but 9/11 happened, so I changed my degree to to history and political science and Arabic. Went to Jordan and studied Arabic a little bit over there, and ended up going to Iraq.
Wow.
Got out of the Marine Corps and graduated college finally, and did every odd job known to man. Ended up doing a little bit of pipe fitting too and construction work. Ended up tearing up my knee out in Iraq, tore my ACL, and didn't know it because it tore it clean. So you pull it up on an X-ray, and no cartilage was ripped, but I had no ACL for about 2 years or so, and was on a job site downtown Dallas, welding pipe, and I ended up twisting my knee and tearing both of my meniscus. Long and short, I got reconstructive surgery. Said, well, I should probably get a desk job or what have you, and got some piece of crap desk job just to bring in some sort of paycheck, something, $10 an hour or what have you. But I had some folks that were friends of mine here locally, and ended up taking a couple of, I'd done a bit of computer work from before. I said, well, maybe I can get back into it, and took a couple of them out to a bar. Took a developer, sounds like a joke, but took a developer, a sysadmin, and a SOC guy, intrusion analyst, separately. Got them all drunk and said, what are you doing? How can I get there? And the SOC guy, he said something that really stuck with me for InfoSec. He said, look, I don't care what degree you have. I don't care what cert you have. If you stop learning for more than 2 weeks, you're obsolete to me. Your master's degree buys you 3 weeks of my training program. You have to constantly learn. And he wrote down on the back of this this receipt that we had for the bar tab. He said, go study systems, Windows and Linux. Go study networking. Go study scripting. Go study web applications. Study attacks, and study packet analysis and defense. And when you get done with that, come talk to me. And I did. Study for
you
about.
should have mentioned like assembly.
Say that again now. I'm sorry, I've got poor hearing. Too many
You
grenades.
should have mentioned like assembly, but that was good advice.
Yeah. So I in order to get into the intrusion detection area, it was my first gig. I didn't need assembly right away, but some of the first stuff that they had me learn was C and then assembly in order to do a bit of malware reversal in order to learn static analysis. Coding. Yeah, exactly. And so I took Zeno Kovac's was it open? I'm losing my mind here. The open security training. He's got some really great assembly courses for free. I'll see if I can find a link and post that in the Twitch chat. But yeah, that's how I got my start with assembly.
Yeah, me, it was with Whereas, but like on IRC, I got so much documentation from that.
Yeah, what's funny is, so I've never really needed to use a lot of assembly, but from an intrusion detection standpoint, I remember but this is back when shell shock hit, and we'd get hit by all these frickin' spams, like spray attacks on everything, just trying to find vulnerable CGI. And we get hit by shell shock all the time. And but the initial pull wasn't a vuln test. It would call some piece of shit IRC botnet written in Perl. And so, didn't need to know too much assembly at that point. You just pull down Perl and read it straight. But I don't know if that counts as malware reversal if you're just reading a text file. But anyhow.
I think if it's Perl, it counts as obfuscation.
Yeah, I imagine it could be. It's enough. Those are some janky. I don't know if you can still pull Perl. It's kind of what we were talking about last week when I got on the ThugCrowd chat. We were talking about pulling down Perl scripts, and those are like a quilt work of various different scripts. It's kind of hodgepodge pulled together. At the time, it was the Brazilian script kiddies, and so some of the comments were written in Portuguese, and the rest was ripped up from some other different stuff. But you could pull their C2 server and connect directly to it and kind of talk to them in IRC. They didn't really care for that, but you'd have fun. that was way back. Research dump, yes, I will be your whatsoever.
That's pretty great stuff, and the advice that you got is pretty good. Like, not to make it discourage anybody that's taking a month off or whatever. But yeah, you got to keep up on your day-to-day stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
otherwise shit add up. Like technology evolves so fast.
you know, I agree with that to a certain point, but we kind of fight a duality. Y'all mentioned some recent vulns that came out that were new vulns. And then we flipped around and started talking about default creds. And so while the forward edge of hacking is constantly changing, constantly shifting, there's always a new attack to be found. Most generally, the ways that we get attacked and the ways that I attack are stupid shit. And I don't mean stupid so far as you know, the sysadmins on the back end running it. But simple things, you know, it's unpatched orphan systems that folks don't even know are sucking up electricity. It's default credentials, or no credentials. So a lot of the ways that, you know, you can break in. I mean, shoot, look at Mirai. That's all just a bunch of default creds too. So you absolutely do need to be kind of on that cutting edge so far as being aware of it. But, you know, as a defender, don't really worry too much about, or even as an attacker, don't worry so much about 0 days. You know, look for the simple things first. Same thing with breaking and entering. You know, if you're going to go clone an access badge, that's all cool and whatnot. But generally speaking, smile and let a person tailgate. You know, or tailgate behind a person, or, you know, knock on a door, let somebody let you in, or open an open door. No need to lockpick when there's no lock, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I've seen some nice shit recently, like memory attack, and like the attack is not only polymorphic, it's used deep learning. And if you like successfully delete it, well, it's gonna come back. And did learn about, oh, you did delete it, and well, I'm still like doing forensic on that, but yeah, I seen some cool shit for real.
Yeah, no. Some of the esoteric shit that's out there is, shoot, it's mind blowing. You look at it, get a bloody nose, and just grin ear to ear while the blood drips down your front teeth. You know, it can really be out there. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I collect all type of shit just for fun, and sometimes you end up finding some really neat stuff.
You got a bug jar, huh? You got a virus petri dish. You collect. I mean, assuming he grinned and said yes and nodded the mic.
That's a common occurrence here. It happens from time.
That's
yeah,
okay.
Discord is a wonderful voice platform.
Very wonderful. I love it. I keep getting kicked off the microphone, and I don't know why. So I kind of missed the last part of the story. If anybody has any other questions to bring up.
Where'd you go from after the sock?
So there's a den of thieves over here called Dallas Hackers Association, and kind of hang out with them for a bit. So I was doing SOC work. I'd go kind of hang out with them once a month, and the way they work, they're forked off of the Austin Hackers Association. I like to think we're a bit more friendly, but there you have it. Shout out to Mobhead. But so the way that Dallas Hackers works is folks get up for about 10 minutes to give a fire talk. They've been hacking the last month, and have about 5 minutes discussion. You get up, get down. We're not looking at polished, you know, talks or nothing. It's very much everybody's drunk and everybody's getting up talking about the shit they hacked. And so I gave a couple different talks. I think we had, you know, I'd gotten a hold of a Chinese elf binary, and me and Malware Must Die way back when did some dynamic and static analysis on it. And that's when China was DOSing GitHub. And so we found a kind of a core aspect of that. So we gave a talk on that. I gave other talks on just, you know, attacking in general. A lot of the early stuff, you know, I didn't really know a lot about hacking per se, you know, the kind of stuff that you study in off of VulnHub or CTS, but not any kind of real life stuff. But I knew how to wage war, and so I would give some talks on, here's some things that you do in fighting an actual kinetic battle. So how does that relate to to logical systems or hacking? And anyhow, get a lot of really good discussion. A gentleman that had gone there by the name of Bubbles, a real ornery fellow. He gave a quick talk on busting into, I don't know, about 5 or 10 casinos down the river Mississippi, and he would bust in one day and get access to everything, bust in the next day to a new casino. He called himself Ocean's One. Talk. And I complimented on him afterwards. I said that was some hot shit there. And he goes, "Well, hey, come work for my crew." And I said, "Well, I don't know that I'm all good." He goes, "Well, you got the mind and you got the tech knowledge. I'll teach you the attacks." And so I told him no, because I was building something out at my SOC and I wanted to see it through. But after about 6 months, he kind of said, "Hey, we got an opening, come on over." And I'd done what I needed to do, so I put in for it. Ended up interviewing for the company. And they ended up giving me a verbal offer and said, we'll bring you in and train you. And don't worry, for about the first 6 months, you'll be shadowing other folk and maybe doing some training courses for our clients. And then we'll ease you into it, have you do some hacks with other people, and then put you out on your own after about, we'll ease you into it after about 6 months. And so I said yes to the verbal offer at least, but in between getting a written offer, literally 3 days, the entire company got bought out by a large conglomerate, and the entire pen test team, which was about 10 folk, left. And so they said, well, the offers come in, but no one was there except for, I guess, one other gentleman who was also new, and I had to make a decision to hop over, and I ended up going for it. And the very first week that I had on onboarding, the boss there said, "Look, I know you're new, but we got 2 internal pen tests. You need to be an insider threat out. Can you fly out there for 3 weeks?" And I said, "Well, shit, okay." He goes, "Don't worry, get out there, lie through your teeth, plug in, give me a call, and I'll try to walk you through it." And I said, "Okay, well, let's do this." And I knew about everything I could know, and I trained up everything I could know off of practice, right? But it's like studying martial arts without ever been in a real fight, kind of thing, And so I went out there, plugged in, tried my scans the first day, and couldn't really find anything. And I ended up staying by left. I said, "Fuck this noise. I got a off crack on a live USB. Let's just go start plugging into a bunch of laptops." And I got lucky, and laptops weren't encrypted. Dumped the local admin hash. The other guy that was still part of the team, he goes, "Look, I love hash cracking. Just send me that hash. I got 8 GPUs over here," and I sent it to him. I didn't even know at that point about passing the hash, right? I realized, now that I could have just used that if I needed to. He ended up cracking it for me with some crappy ass password, but they had stamped the same Windows image on every single laptop, so it had the same local administrator. They weren't using laps or nothing. And I ended up, at that point, I could get access to every single computer in the environment except for a server that was PCI VLANed off, access controlled off. And that I'd gotten a lot, but they're like, "Hey, can you get access to that server?" And I said, "Well, I'll try." And I don't know any great hacks, right? But I could get access to every workstation there. And I knew the guy because I just had been talking to folk. I knew the admin for the SQL server. And so when he went to lunch, I already peed into his computer, double clicked on the SQL server icon on his desktop, and it had saved credentials, and that immediately connected me to the PCI database that was VLANed off. And so I got keys to the kingdom there and got access to the crown jewels. And I said, "Okay, well, that's that test done." I went to the next company, and I said, "Well, I know 2 attacks now. I know off crack and pulling the SAM off of an unencrypted database, and I know connecting to local admin. I'd learned pass the hash over the weekend." And so I said, "Well, I'll do that." Ended up trying that and said, "Well, I learned those 2, so let's learn another attack." And each pen test, you kind of spend, I don't know, half a day doing the attacks, and the rest of the time learning new attacks on a new environment. So that's how I got into it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Cheers.
What's one of the more crazy things that you've had to do to get a foothold?
More crazy things to do.
Yeah, one that sticks out.
I'm trying to think of a real good one. I don't know that I've had to do a lot of weird stuff, and you'll forgive me, you caught me.
I know I caught you off guard with that one. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I can tell a couple. I'm trying to think of in order to get just a single foothold. I'll tell you this one. This is a good story. This was a physical pen test, and I knew the client. I'd actually the head of security there that hired my company. I had worked with him at a previous place, and so he ended up going with the company, and he had only purchased basically a white box security audit. So he had purchased enough time that I was to spend basically 2 days on site, and I was going to walk through each area what I found. So real cheap, but the saying goes, look, if you believe me and you trust me, I can tell you all of your vulnerabilities just by walking through and pointing at things. A white box security audit is going to find everything that you need to know. The problem is most people don't believe you, or they don't believe it can happen. They think it's hypothetical. And so that's when the black box pen tests come in. I don't find anything that folks don't already know, or that I could tell you just by looking at it. With a pen test, what a pen test will do is demonstrate impact to the non-believers. That's kind of thing. You hack in, but then you hack in, it's bad, right? And that usually lights a fire under some C-level's ass, and they get budget in order to fix the shit. But this guy had purchased a white box security audit, and my boss is like, look, don't do a pen test. Just go show up on site and do this walk there. He came to me aside and said, hey, bro, can you just do a pen test? Can you cut me some slack, kind of thing? And I said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to go on site, sight unseen. I'm not going to do any recon. I'm not going to do any prep. And if I can bust in, I'll bust in. Otherwise, if they stop me, I'll say, hey, look, I'm with this, and we'll start the white box security audit. How's that? That's a little bit half and half. And he said, sure, go for it. So I said, okay. So I hopped into my car. Went downtown to where his business was. He was in a shared occupancy building. They had 3 floors out of a 20-story building. And I walked in, and first thing I noticed was that there was construction going on the ground floor. A lot of rooms kind of cordoned off, and you could hear you could see welding going on and all that kind of stuff. And so I said, well, that's cool. I went back into my car, and I usually carry, a handful of things with me. And I put on a safety vest and walked right back inside. And I went up to the main room or main floor that they have most of their things. And I went around jiggling doorknobs, so I ain't gonna lie. And one doorknob I jiggled, I heard some folks behind it. This was around, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I figured I'd wait till they went home, and I'd just start picking locks or whatever. I had no idea. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I hear behind. I go, oh shit! And I run to the bathroom and hide. Right, a bathroom's a pen tester's kind of safe zone. They're holed up, and it smells like shit. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So I'm there, standing in the bathroom. I'm not in a stall. I'm not using a urinal. And the guy that I heard, from behind, he followed me into the bathroom. Turns out he had to take a leak, right? And now I'm caught flat-footed in a bathroom. I'm not even using stall. I'm not using the sink or nothing. I'm just standing there, not with my dick out, but I'm standing there. And he looks at me like, what the fuck are you doing here? And so I look up at the ceiling, and because what else am I gonna do? And the first thing I see is sprinkler. I go, well, I'm looking at the sprinkler, and I'm trying not to make any piss jokes at this point. And I go, well, I'm a sprinkler investigator. I'm investigating sprinklers. And he goes, okay, and takes a piss. Well, he washes his hands. I'm sitting here like, yep, that's it.
Man, but I need to take this piss.
That's some leaked sprinkler.
Yeah, I'm like, you take the piss, and I'll look at sprinkler. And he finishes up, and he walks out. And I go, well, fuck it. Yeah, and so he goes out.
Just figuratively take out.
No, figuratively, yeah, no. The object drip if you were on fire. Real hot mess, let me tell you. So he walks out, and I go, well, fuck it, we're going to run with it. And he goes back into the door that was jiggling, shuts the door. I knock on the door as soon as he shuts it. He opens the door, and I step in. I go, I need to investigate your sprinklers too. You mind walking me around? And he's like, oh, I mean, sure. I'm like, all right. So we go through, and I take out my phone, and I start taking pictures of all the sprinklers. And then I bring the phone down like I'm looking at my picture, and I start taking pictures of all the computers. Turns out I literally walked into the IT shack, and his boss was there, and he gave me this like stink eye, like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I just kind of grinned to him and started making up shit about sprinklers. I said, well, you know, we're doing construction down there, and we got to test the I don't know, the pressure, and so I need to go through here. And while we're looking at it, I need to go through and see if there's any leaks, and if you know, if we need to replace it. And the guy that opened the door, he goes, well, you going to replace sprinklers? I go, hell no, that's beneath me. I don't do that anymore. I'll get one of my guys to replace it, but you mind taking me into the other room? And so he starts walking me around this little area, and I go, you know, we do this for about 30 minutes, and I'm small talking and bullshitting. And he goes, I go, well, I'm about done. Do you have a desk I can sit down with and write up my report? And he goes, yeah, well, you go ahead right here and do this. Mind you, I'm taking pictures of all the boards. There's IP addresses on there. There's, Wi-Fi passwords and all that kind of stuff. So he sets me down. I go, okay, well, that's easy. Now I'm going to plug in and start hacking. I didn't bring a Dropbox with me or nothing, but I had some rubber duckies. But so I start plugging in. Right as I'm about to plug in, that head sysadmin comes barreling around the corner, coming right at me with an angry look on his face. And he goes, who the hell are you and what the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to be here. Well, I'm taken aback here. That's not a way to talk to a fellow human being. And so I look at him and I go, well, this company? He goes, yeah. I go, are you on these floors? He goes, yeah. I go, well, I'm supposed to be here. And he goes, well, do you have a security badge? I go, well, no. Should I have a security badge? He goes, yes, you have to have a security badge. I go, well, I want to be secure and I want to follow your policy and procedure. So why don't you get me a security badge? And he goes, okay, yeah, let's get you cleared. I go, sounds good. I appreciate it. Wow. And so he hands me off to his, to the person who was kind of walking another, go down, get this guy checked out and get him a security badge. And so I walk down and we go outside, and I thought I'd been done for, but you kind of look a man in the eye and tell him bullshit through your teeth. They're liable to believe you. And so we get into the elevator, and we're going down to the security center, the front place, right? And I'm doing all this bullshit. I go, so y'all in computers? And he's like, yeah, we're in computers. And I was like, I never do computers. I wasn't really good. I'm better with my hands. I go, now my cousin, he's good with computers. He does what he likes to call helper's desk. Is that right? And I'm bullshitting with this guy. The big thing is when folks are around you and you're a stranger, they're going to make sure that you don't attack them, and they're going to make sure that you don't steal anything. But beyond that, they're generally be fine with you being around them. So he goes down and he has me fill out this piece of paper, and I write down something like Texas Sprinkler Systems, which there's 100 companies in Texas called Texas Sprinkler Systems. But he never checked it, didn't hand over a business card. He didn't verify it because his boss told him to get me cleared. His boss didn't say to clear me. His boss said, get me cleared, right? And there's a little bit of a difference in that. One is making sure I get a badge, and I ought to have a badge. So this is a concept in conning called transitive trust, and the idea is, if one person, if Dan or not Dan, you trust me, right, and you trust you, well, then you might trust me. For those of you just listening on the podcast, there's a gentleman here named, I'm sorry. There's a person here named you. So it's a who's on first kind of thing. But the idea is, hey, this first person saw fit to trust me for a little bit. I may not know you, but I at least have a little bit of trust because I trust this other guy. And what I ended up doing was, I came to this thing sight unseen. I wasn't breaking in. I wasn't picking locks. I wasn't cloning badges. I was going in, just with a tongue in my cheek and a wink in my eye, And I was able to get in first by saying that I was a sprinkler investigator. And that was enough to get a guy. And he didn't trust me to leave me alone enough at first. He walked me around, but then he set me down. Well, the other guy didn't trust me, but he knew I hadn't attacked anyone. So that was the sysadmin came in and said, hey, who are you? He challenged me. At that point, he's fine, go clear him. He then hands me to another guy. At this point, 2 people have known me already. This guy has no reason not to trust me. He walks me around every single room. Mind you, I'm still escorted, tell you the truth, so I can't do anything fun, but I'm at least getting recon. He walks me through every single room in their entire company, so I know where's what's what. And at the very end, I go, well, y'all have a server room, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, there's special sprinklers in there. You don't want just water frying your servers. He goes, and I don't know if this is true. I think it is, right? But he goes, well, that sounds right. He goes, but I can't get into the sprinkler room. Let me bring you over to the security guard. They have access and they'll get you into the sprinkler room. I said, okay. And so I went down there. And at this point, he hands it over to the security guard. And the security guard's the employee of this company, if you will. And my target, Mark, he goes, hey, take this gentleman into the server room. He needs to check something out. Mind you, he doesn't say he needs to check out a sprinkler system. He just needs to check it out. So at this point, because he needs to go home, and the security guard's going to stay all night. So I walk with security guard, and security guard did nothing wrong. Security guard was given a valid order, a valid request from their employee. I had a badge. Security guard did nothing wrong. It was that nobody along the way of the company target validated me. So now I'm walking with security guard and go anywhere I want. She goes, well, you need to go in the server room. I go, yeah, I need to go in the server room. I need to run some updates on the server. And so she walks me in there, and their server room was protected by a handprint, so biometrics, and a pen pad. She puts down her handprint, biometrics, lets me in. And I go in there, and she sits down on the corner, just knows that I need to be there. She can't leave me alone so I don't steal anything. But I go in front of her. I'm plugging shit into their servers, my rubber ducky and whatnot, popping shells. And at that point, we were done. And I said, thank you for your time. I'll leave. And I'd owned everything. And that was, I've done hacks. I've done phishing. I've done physical intrusions, on cloned badges, of pick locks. I've brute force shit, full scope, etc. But this was the only time that I'd ever owned an entire company through nothing but social engineering alone. And that's also kind of an interesting demonstration of using transitive trust to pivot and privilege escalate in a social engineering scenario. Yeah, and that was kind of fun. Now, I'll give a little bit of that being said, the fun thing was apparently that sysadmin went back and did try to validate me himself. And he called in and said, hey, there's this asshole claiming to be a sprinkler investigator. Is he legit? They did a check, and apparently there was a sprinkler investigator coming through about an hour or two after me. And so they thought I was him. And so I completely lucked out. Probably would have gotten by the time that he had checked for everything. So they might have gone and started doing a DFIR, right? But what had happened was I had seen the construction worker, and I gave a plausible story and just kind of played with it. So luck favors the prepared, as they say. But I imagine that'd be probably the goofiest pen test that I've ever experienced.
I gotta say, it's not really a contest. Like, we're not necessarily having a contest here, but you set the bar. You just set the bar real high for people as far as crazy stories go. That's top notch, man. That's
I don't think I've told that story on Twitter before. I like telling stories. So I got a couple in my back pocket.
A very profound experience.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
Tinker.
probably the first time I've heard someone else telling a story where they actually lucked out to the extent that they just happened to pose as someone who was going to be happening by that day. That's happened to me once, only once, and I've never heard of that happening with someone else. I actually had I walked into a bank branch saying that I was there to check out some phone lines, and it turns out that their ISP was actually stopping through that day, and they already had emails and everything circulating about it. But yeah, that's wild, man. That's awesome.
Could you imagine?
Interesting when
the real
Yeah.
person came in.
Yeah, you're like, hey, who are you?
I mean, the funny thing too is like, we obviously didn't have a van with the ISP's vinyls on the side and stuff like that. So yeah, I can't imagine when they showed up later what these people thought.
Could you imagine the scrutiny? And like they'd actually.
You got
I mean that's straight up that's a movie right there. That's a rom-com / heist movie right there. So.
And I'd love to take credit for that sort of shit, but you can't. You just get that lucky, you can't take credit for that stuff.
Half of it's luck, right? But it's also it's looking around at the environment. I once had a person say, you always get lucky every time you go in, there's default creds somewhere. And I'm like, well, no, I look for default creds. Or you get lucky. All these places have locked doors, but you find the unlocked doors. And I jiggle every handle, I mean, and when you go in there and you go in to the bank account to the bank, as you said, and you said, look, I'm here to check a phone line. Can you imagine how many times they have phone lines checked? They're a bank. They rely on phone lines.
Yeah.
And so that's a valid pretext to pick it. It's not off the wall. Chances are, it sounds random, but chances are, you have a 20% chance of that being a legit story any given day. So that's a luck favor so prepared.
Works 20% of the time, all the time.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, use it. So, and it kind of goes with. But there you go.
I'm glad I fucking woke up and heard you talking on here. That's story, man.
Well, I listened to your story last week. We'll just shoot the shit.
Hey, Tinker, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So last week I asked I Commit Felonies and Jack Hyde if they'd ever been physically tackled or restrained or handcuffed or anything like that during a pen test. I was just wondering, have you maybe ever been physically restrained or handcuffed or detained or whatever?
I generally
be like 2 times at OVH.
I usually have a quick tongue and an easy smile, and so I'm tackled. However, one of the very first physical pen tests I ever did, this place was so locked down. This is like military industrial out in DC, and I had been sent over, honestly, to do an internal pen test, but they, when I got there, said, well, we don't have authorization tight. I said, well, that doesn't make sense. Why'd I get on a plane if you didn't have authorization? I was only supposed to be there for a week, rather, for 5 days. I was flying out on Friday. At Wednesday afternoon, they came back and said, look, we're not going to be able to get you authorization. I'm in. Can you try to break in? I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You can't give me a badge, but you can let me try to break in. That's kind of ironic. But and I said, look, I'm not kitted out to do a physical break in here. I don't have anything. I've got a large laptop in order to do an internal pen test, And they said, well, look, do what you can do, and we'll try to get some value out of it. And so this place didn't have a lobby. It didn't have a parking lot out front. I won't go through the whole story, but their parking lot was basically a car trap that you'd go down, so you couldn't actually go into it as an outsider. You had a badge, and they had active security there. They had employee entrances, but I couldn't get into them. They were all heavily man-trapped down. They had a guard there. You would swipe in front of him. He'd check your picture to the swipe in. And they had a lot of like nondescript doors. I didn't know any of this at first, mind you, because I had like a day and a half to try to do as much as I could. But I ended up at one point going into a random door during the day, just after lunch, trying to tailgate folks in. And the door opened to this very narrow, short, very dark hallway with 2 heavily muscled security guards, one sitting down and the other grimacing at the general direction. And they were not expecting folks to walk through that door. And I don't know if you've ever been out in the brush and you round a corner, typically when it's cold, and you walk right into a wolf, not a coyote, but a proper wolf. And a wolf will stop and look you straight dead in the eye. And you get this thought, well, if I run, he's going to kill me, right? And this was my first pen test. And so I'm still going off. A lot of folks will come in out of military, into this kind of testing. in the Marine Corps, if I feel threatened, I'm going to rush you and I'm going to take you down. I might die in doing so, but that's how we're trained. If we get ambushed, we push through and we do a counter ambush on the spot. You run away, you die. And so I walk into this door and one guy turns towards me and another guy reaches behind him in a gesture that I knew meant that he was carrying. And my first instinct was to get down and rush the son of a bitch and start chopping at his throat. But it's a client and this guy's only doing his job. And so I stop, and my second thought is I need to take cover. I need to make a tactical retreat, but I can't do that. If I do that, I know that they're going to run after me. And so I stood up straight and kind of grinned and said, well, I'm here looking for a friend. Do you know him? And they turned to look at me. They're like, sure. I said, oh, okay, I'll do that. I'll call my friend from the parking lot. And they're like, get out. I'm like, okay. And so I ended up leaving. But I know that if I would have run, they would have tackled me. But I was able to kind of shit myself there on the spot and keep my cool and talk my way out of it. But no, generally speaking, if you move slow enough, you keep your hands where you can be seen. You don't run. I tell you, as soon as you run, you kind of, even if you're caught flat-footed, you're caught, with your hand in the cookie jar. If you run, that's kind of, you said, you should chase me. And you're literally saying, I should not be here. If you have your hand in the cookie jar and you look a guy straight in the eye and go, hey, would you like some yourself? Chances are you'll be able to get out of it.
Actually, that brings up a question now that, as someone with like zero military experience, I've often wondered, people doing the same job who have that experience, do you find that you have to kind of like dial back those instincts a little bit?
Yeah. So beforehand, before we do any kind of military operation briefing, and we'll do rules of engagement and we'll do escalation of force. So if you're going in hot, you can fine if you know that the area you're going into. But if there are civilians in the area, you can't just shooting anybody. And so I found that when I go into a physical pen test, I have to kind of give my briefing in that sense that, I'll say, look, the rules of engagement, hack the client kind of thing. Can you guys hear me? I know it's kind of going in and,
it's a little hard. Maybe if you rejoin the chat.
Let me see real quick. I see it flicker and I see folks talking about it.
Yeah, I've heard, or I've seen a few people mention things, and honestly, you've been clear for me, so I don't know.
Yeah, even the moments where you cut out, it's still pretty easy to pick up on what you're saying.
Okay, yeah. Let me check something.
We're just gonna, 1 sec, we'll cut for just 1 little second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we back. Should be good.
All right.
Not Twitter, I mean Twitch.
Yeah.
All right.
While he's doing that, a really good point that he brought up a bit ago is that if once you decide to run, you have given up, because you can hold your ground and it can still work out in your favor. But the second you run, you've admitted defeat. You've given up.
Of course. You're giving out yourself, like, I'm guilty. Hey, take it.
Exactly.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so one other thing besides, to your point of if you run, you give up, a big thing folks don't really always understand is that, pen tests, we're not, unless you're working for a government agency or military agency, unless you're working for a criminal organization, or unless you're a hacktivist, the point isn't necessarily to break in or to hack. The point is to test security. Now, we do that through breaking in and hacking by doing actual, attacks. But the point is to test security. Even if you get caught, one thing I've found is that you continue to test how do they react when they catch a person. So I've gotten, actually that same place, I ended up going into a place with a, piece of crap little fake badge access card. I didn't have it's that same place I told you about. I didn't have a cloner, and I ended up going up and into a man trap. I said, well, I'm just going to keep going. Normally, if this was attack, I would have left. It would have been fine. But I was like, I want to see this through. And I went through, the first thing that they did was they said, well, it didn't work. And they go, sir, this looks suspicious. Could you step to the side? And they moved me off the perimeter and into a secondary guard who took me aside and ran a check. And at this point, he goes, well, this looks weird. And I do a bullshit thing where I said, well, that's what HR gave me. It hasn't been working. And I just started all at new. And so he goes, well, hold on one second. Let me run this. And he was very calm and very relaxed and made sure that I felt at ease. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's see if I can get away from this guy. I said, well, sir, I need to use the restroom. Do you have a restroom I can use? And he goes, well, there's a restroom. If you go outside and go across to the cafe over there, there's a public restroom. He gave me a way out, right? You corner a person who tried to break in, that person may act violently. He is not the police officer, police. He has my picture. He has everything I need that he can give a full report. He needs to get me out of there safe. And I said, well, and I recognize that. And that's good. I said, well, no, I really need to go right now. He looks me in the eye. He goes, well, I would never deny a fellow man a restroom. Hold on one second. So he brings in a third guard that was on an internal rotation. He never weakened his perimeter. And that third guard escorts me to the restroom, lets me use the restroom, brings me back. And by the time I got back, the head of security was there to meet me and said, hey, can you explain this? And that's when I said, well, you caught me. I brought out my letter of permission and what have you. But the key thing was, half of pen testing is finding vulnerabilities, but the other half is testing detection and response. And if you get caught and you're able to validate that things work, not just that things didn't work for you hacking in, but you're able to validate, hey, you detected me on this. I did a brute force and you detected it and banned my IP. I had to hop IP addresses. I went in and I popped a shell on interpreter and you detected that via PowerShell anomaly and you killed my interpreter shell. In this sense, it was a physical thing. You went through and this is how you handled when something actually bad happens. That has a tremendous value to a client because, again, the goal of pen testing is validating and testing security. We're essentially security quality assurance. I know we like to walk around and be all hot shit and elite and whatnot, but in the end of the day, we're just SQA. We might be manual QA, but we're still QA. And so even when you get caught, you need to see it through and make sure they follow policy procedure. I've had one time where I pulled out every time I have a letter of permission. This is kind of the if I get caught, please don't throw me in jail kind of the get out of jail free card is what it's called. The first thing I do is clone that and I put a fake phone number on it. So if they call my number and they call my buddy in the back who says that I'm valid, well, then they failed that test and that's something they need to do. The proper policy and procedure is they go through their internal lines of escalation and call up their own internal people. So even if you get caught, don't run, see it through and make sure you test the full response.
Man, that's beautiful. Nice.
You gotta take note of that because you're gonna be rewarded for each method and different pattern that you try. They want to see if each employee are doing their job.
Exactly.
Yeah, just to reiterate for the people listening that might want to be pen testers, that's probably some of the best advice if you want to get into pen testing. It's not all about popping shells. It's not all about like hacking the biggest hack. You're there to do the job. Your job's to test security control.
Yeah, I had that with some good data center here in Montreal. Some turn bad, some turn good. But yeah, you got some issues sometimes, especially if you deal with like high-tier place that you need to hunt at several places that just it become bullshit. The worst place I ever worked at is OVH.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I had some bad experience because not for like pen testing job, but just security. I'm a smoker. And basically, they don't like when you go out and go in with a temporary like card.
Well, good on them, really. I mean, to be honest, keeping it secure,
just
right?
trying to save your life.
Yeah.
If you have any friends or anything that still work there, if you could tell them to stop bothering me about the $70 that they're not going to get, that would be awesome.
A wild, crazed
That would be funny if it was just like.
I had done hosted exchange with OVH. I don't fucking know why, like right after it was like the link for 365, and I was like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot. And they were like, hey, we auto renewed and your credit card failed, so you owe us $70. And they just kept emailing me for like fucking 2 years. Fuck off. So if you know anybody that's there, if you could tell them, that'd be awesome.
I've missed you, Chris.
Yeah, seriously,
Missed you too, buddy.
Dude, I felt like I came in earlier and I was like, shit, dude, everybody's talking about really cool shit. I just have fucking dumb stories about me when I used to drink, you know? And I was like, fuck, just being quiet and shit.
It's all good, buddy.
I
It's been a
really
great show.
I don't say my story like of work. I try to keep that I don't know, separate from internet shit.
My job's not nearly as cool as what these guys were describing. That was really cool shit. And the TinkerSec guy, I remember he did like a, what do they call them, tweet storm or whatever, when you do a bunch of tweets. And it was about like a engagement that he had, and it was really fucking cool. It was a dope read.
Cheers, Chris. Appreciate that.
I think it's worth mentioning you're talking about like meetups in the Twitch chat. If you want to like reiterate that in the voice here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, generally speaking, if you're in a big city, you'll probably have a couple InfoSec meetups already. Local DEF CON groups here in Dallas, we have DC 214. Local 2600 groups will still be around. They meet on the first Friday of every month. And some of like the local 2600 here in Dallas is just a place to kind of get drunk and bitch about your job. The local DC 214, it's more offensive, right? But it will, you'll have like a long form talk for about an hour or two. And there's a bunch of other meetups. Dallas is really heavy with that kind of stuff. An old hacker by the name of Wirefall. And if you ever read Kevin Mitnick's, I think it's Art of Intrusion, I think it's chapter 6 or chapter 7, is Wirefall's story. I don't think Wirefall ever got paid for that, but you'll see a quote from him there at the very top. This guy's
He definitely didn't get paid. It's Mitnick.
no. We won't continue that conversation because I have thoughts. But Wirefall's an old graybeard. And he said, look, he liked the Austin Hackers Association. That's all, that's Mobhead, HT Moore, Egypt, those fellers. And their whole thing was get in, talk about shit. You're not going to be here lurking. Give a quick talk, 10 minutes top, and get down. And Wirefall didn't see that around Dallas, and so he created the Dallas Hackers Association. We blatantly stole it from him. And that's kind of blossomed into, there's like 150 hackers every month that go to it. We have our own CTF and Lock Sport, and it's real fun. Meets in this really crazy cyberpunk neon karaoke bar at the end of, and I shit you not, it's at the end of this dark alleyway called Goodnight Lane. It's the skeeziest place I've ever seen. I love it. But the thing was, Wirefall saw a need and he said, "Fuck this! I'm going to create it." And when he created it, there was only like a couple people joined it first, and then it was 12 people, and then 20 people who was offering free wings and beer until it got to be about 20 people. And everybody, he'd go around the table, "Hey, what are you working on?" He had a TV or whatever and get up and show some slides if he wanted to. We've had to kind of change a little bit as we've grown, but we've been going strong for 5-6 years now. And the idea is, the community gives. And if, we're not there are no vendor talks, there are no recruiter talks. It's just, if you're talking about code, you show code. If you're talking about methodology, you show methodology, and everything ought to be able to be applied no matter what the tool set. And so folks kind of do it. And so a lot of person in the chat here kind of said, well, how do we get into InfoSec if you don't have your own bubbles? And Bubbles being the person that kind of gave me my leg up. And it's part and parcel. First, you have to study. You have to know your shit as much as you can. So you have to have skill or at least training. And you can get free training online. Everything's for free online as much as possible. But the other thing is you need a network. And social networking's fine. Being here in ThugCrowd is good. But if you can meet in person, that's ideal. Hacking is one of those weird things. I'm going to let you get into literally my crown jewels, and I'm going to pay you money to do that. But once you've been in, you know how to take down the entire organization. You don't just let anybody do that. You have to have an immense amount of trust. Wirefall always says he doesn't sell his hacking, he sells trust. And you know, it's hard to just have a person off the street with a resume that anybody can con and bring in. You know, it's another thing. If, you know, a lot of times for our own crews, you know, I'll hire people I know. If I change a different crew, I'll bring folks over. People get me on their crews that they know. And so if you're breaking in,
do random project to see if the person is trustable or we react on the server and everything. You bring a really good point.
yeah, and so, you know, skill's one thing, but I know some folks that are hot shit skilled, but if they get into a place, they'll burn everything. And so to his point though, not everybody has meetups in the area. You know, look around, use meetup.com, use some other things, you know, look for those meetups. So there's oftentimes a local DEF CON group or what have you, and see if it exists. If it doesn't exist, do it yourself. Just like anything, spin up your own shit, pop your own code. It's real simple. Meet the same day every month. You know, first Tuesday, first Wednesday, first Thursday, or whatever. Don't meet on the weekends, but meet during the week. Meet for an hour at night. Meet at a place that has food and drink, because most hackers are introverts and they won't talk or, you know, be friendly unless they've got drink in them. That leads to alcoholism, but still. And have food there, you know, that kind of gets people in a communal mindset. Meet the same time and stay 2 hours. The first 2 times, no one's going to show up. Make sure, you know, put things out on a meetup, put it out on Twitter. No one's going to show up, but you have to be consistent. If for one time you don't show up, people will show up and you won't be there. The third month that you go, somebody will show up, and then, you know, engage them and start kind of doing that whole, hey, what'd you hack on? What I hack on? You know. And just start speaking about it. But after about 6 months, you'll have a sizable group. You know, it's that old classic: if you build it, they will come. So if there's a local meetup, meet people, talk to them, let them get to know you and trust you. Chances are, if you show the hunger and the wherewithal, they'll hire you and train you. If you don't have a local meetup, then create one and stick to it. And build what you feel you need to build. It's just like anything. If you see a lack, fill that lack.
Awesome advice.
Yeah, for sure. I've like moving to a new area just recently. I would say that like my local DEF CON group is like better than I could ever expect.
Yeah.
Like it's great to have that, and I hope more people will go out and, you know, look for those kind of things because they're really amazing.
Yeah, that's how I got my first job. Basically, was social engineering into a business and a group of hacking in my local area, basically. And I did impress some people there. We started like meeting at the bar and drinking. So yeah, when people drunk, they talk more about shit. They open up, and yeah, it's good advice that he's given.
No, just amazing show. I gotta put it out there. We've been one-upping it every single show from 2019 forward. It's been a good year, man. Thanks, Tinker. This has been amazing.
Cheers. What you all have put together here is one of the most vibrant online I've seen in a long time. So this is part and parcel what you've built. So cheers to you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. That's awesome having you on. Really cool hearing your stories.
Awesome to be on. Cheers. Thank you.
So do you have any like parting words for anybody who's listening? Because there's quite a bit of people still watching or that are watching right now.
Yeah, I've been trying to follow the chat and kind of answering, even just kind of typing as I go. I don't know. No real parting words. The big thing is, I mean, hack the fucking planet, just rip it apart, see what you can see.
Hack the planet.
Hack the earth.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Well, cheers. I appreciate y'all having me on. It's a pleasure.
Stop by sometime. Definitely.
Will do.
Anything you want to give a shout out to?
My mentor, Wirefall, my heterosexual life mate, Whiskey Neon, Shout out to Jack, whatever she's breaking into right now. And yeah, that's probably about it. Hello, Mom.
Hell yeah. So I'm just trying to queue up something real quick, so we will be able to sign off. So yeah, next week we have. Is that right, Dan?
Actually, you cut out. I didn't hear you.
Next week we have Bad Package Report.
Oh yeah, right. That'll be great.
Yes.
We got things and stuff. We got things.
Yeah.
And
we have quite a few awesome people to be interviewing in the next couple weeks here, which is really awesome. So shout out to everybody who's come on. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to everybody who donated and followed. So we got donations from Debug, Pirate Moo, and Subnet. We got follows from SVN Tropical, My Rusty Spoon, Gold Gothis, and Wicked Blue Ninja. Thanks to everybody for interacting with our stream and making it awesome.
Cool. So last week we mentioned that something would go down, and it didn't quite turn out the way as planned. But we'll play just a little bit, huh?
Just a little creme on the top.
Yes.
Somebody yell cut when they want me to cut.
Nobody yell cut.
Wait, what?
You.
What is your favorite research chemical?
Oh Christ! Well, it depends. For what? I mean, for relaxation.
For relaxation, yeah. Can give us a kind of example of.
Listen, I don't do much for relaxation other than alcohol and weed, only because relaxation is not much my thing. For concentration, okay. Here, I truly wish that methylene dioxypyrovalerone was still legal. That's MDPV. Yeah. I know it's dangerous. The problem with it was the tolerances for dosage were so strict that a half of a milligram is the difference between a very profound experience in body's face. Okay, so that was the problem with that. Currently, I like alpha PHP. It's very difficult to find, but I would say that alpha PHP. And if you guys know where I can get some, DM me. Thank you.
So, yes, we got to speak with McAfee about some very important subjects today. So shout out to McAfee for coming on, talking to us about bath salts and some other things. Good luck, Godspeed, wherever you're going to. I don't know where that is, but thanks for coming and hanging out.
Papa John, if you're listening, thank you so much for your time.
Don't forget to eat your dick.
I think in its full glory, we're gonna.
We'll eventually have to play some more of it, but yeah, it was pretty cool. We didn't want to overshine TinkerSec though, but it was fun. Thanks to everybody who just retweeted the shit out of us for overwhelmed McAfee.
Wait, did I fucking sleep through John being on the show?
Well, you might have. Yeah.
God,
fucking shit.
Mother.
Oh Christ.
Yeah, thank you very much, John, for coming on. I don't know if we'll ever see you again, but good luck in all your journeys and endeavors.
Godspeed, John.
Godspeed, John.
Can we get that "Oh God" blurb in the intro from now on?
Oh Christ!
Yeah.
I love that. He's good. Everything's great.
McAfee 2020. Make sure you get those copies.
All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. That's next week with Bad Package Support and others. So, thanks for tuning in, and good night.
Peace out.
Good
night, yo.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I'm still trying to turn off the stream. Give me 1 second.
Wait, the stream's still on?
Yeah, my everything's frozen.